Yesterday, we saw the 205th installment in what many in the world consider to be the biggest game in English football. Liverpool against Manchester United, two clubs from cities that are so similar, so close by, and yet so different. The game itself ended in a 0-0 draw, and honestly, I would personally describe it as it was lively, but somehow still boring. But joining me today to talk about the game and more things Manchester United are two of my batchmates from medical school. Very proud to have them here, Dr. Zubin Jain and Dr. Satvik Pai. How are you guys doing today?
Good. I think the result for Man U was okay. It's not a bad result. I would have, if before the game you gave me a draw, I would definitely take it. Staying top of the table. So overall, it's an okay thing and a decent performance. I wasn't disappointed as such with United's performance.
Yeah, I think
United had the better chances, so we kept Salah and Mane down. So that's a good plus. Our defense was spot on.
Dude, I think even if you all hadn't done anything, Salah and Mane would have been down. Like they've just been terrible. So yeah, but yeah, yesterday's game, very weird game, very weird game. Honestly, like I thought, okay. I really was scared because I thought United would hurt us more than they actually, like, obviously they had the best chances, but I thought they'd hurt us more because our defense was basically two midfielders playing. So I thought they'd hurt us more. I thought Rashford especially didn't play well. And I thought on a better day, he would have done a lot more damage. But like, yeah, what do you guys think? Satvik said obviously that you weren't disappointed with your United's performance. And Zubin, do you agree, or did you expect more?
Considering Liverpool's defense, maybe we could have got 3 points. And plus the form that United were in, like people started expecting that this is the only chance probably United will get to defeat Liverpool at Anfield. But otherwise, Liverpool is still the champion team. It was a good team, and getting a point out of Anfield is not bad. But still, disappointed.
Yeah, getting a point out of Anfield is I think I would take it because the reverse thing, like if you said Liverpool goes to Old Trafford and takes 1 point out of 3, I think I would still take that. So I get that. I think 1 point in an away game is a good result. Still top of the league. So I don't think anyone expected United to be top of the league. And the very surprising thing was for me, there was no VAR incident. Because whenever United has played, whenever Liverpool has played, there's been some VAR incident. So for me, that was really surprising. But yeah, like honestly, I'm struggling to find stuff to talk about. I think the things we can talk about yesterday's game was, I think, the Bruno Fernandes chance and the Paul Pogba chance. I thought, Liverpool had the possession, Liverpool had everything, but the clear-cut chances both went to United. Like Liverpool, I can't. Maybe Firmino's was like a half chance in the first half. Yeah, but it wasn't as clear cut as Fernandes and Pogba. So I don't know. Do you think?
But yeah, as Jup said, as the game went on, the more we saw that Liverpool was not really that threatening, I think United could have gone a little more offensive and gotten the 3 points. Yeah,
definitely, because I think the second half United grew into the game for sure.
United were a little risky. They were playing from the back, right from the beginning. That was a little risky sometimes. There was one close call with Salah, I think. But they did well. They did well, and as the game got on, they could have actually done better. You like Bruno Fernandes' performance? I think he's actually it's still a less sample size, but in the big games, he's not as good as how he is in the other games. He somewhere goes at least in the second half, but. First half, he was missing a little bit, no?
Yeah, I think the teams have understood his game. But what I feel is playing Bruno and Pogba together unlocks Pogba. It gives Pogba the space to play. So that's still a positive. People are more focused on what Bruno is creating and they close him down, leaving Pogba open most of the time. So I think it works for United that way. But yes, true. He hasn't scored or assisted any against the big teams, especially this season. Last season, I think against Chelsea, he assisted. But other than that, nothing much.
Yeah, I think this year he had that penalty against Tottenham, I think. But other than that, Bruno
Yeah,
hasn't.
other than that, like,
Yeah.
Bruno hasn't done anything.
But like, there's no denying that he's like United's best player.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think
Definitely.
I think it was like Jamie Carragher or someone who brought it up. He was like, sometimes it's just that one player who can make a difference. Like Liverpool had that with Suarez back, like long back. And for United, like they were a good team, but Fernandes makes it like, for some reason, like it just feels like a much better team with Bruno in it than outside. And I think apart from De Bruyne, I think nobody else has created more in the Premier League this year other than Bruno. So
From the midfield, I guess, but I guess Harry Kane has more assists than either of them at this point.
Creative midfielders. Yeah, I meant midfielders. Yeah, but I mean, interesting game. Actually, no, not interesting game at all.
And VAR thing was okay. There were no incidents in the penalty box, but that was also Klopp doing pre-game mind games and everything. And Klopp started that this season.
Yeah.
He's definitely started that compared to before. Last season, like okay, he was like everyone, like he was like a good guy and everything. But this season, definitely he started all this mind games and basically Fergie and Mourinho. But yeah, he's nothing different from Mourinho now, actually.
Yeah, but I think definitely the penalty thing was, I know he denied it later on saying I don't play mind games and all, but the penalty thing was definitely a mind games thing because
that definitely was.
You don't need to bring it up just before you play Man United. Like you would have brought it up at any point in the season, but why bring it up right now before you play Man United? So
right before, I was just hoping at some point of time Bruno will get a penalty. I was just hoping. I mean, it would have made great headlines the next day.
It would have made great headlines, but also if it had been like an injury time penalty, I think I would have broken my computer or something at that point. Like 90th minute injury time penalty, I'm not taking that. That would have been really bad. But like looking at like United generally, this season, how do you think like they've done? Like obviously they started out slow and there were talks that, Ole would get sacked and this and that. And obviously, that rumor thing is always there that Ole will get sacked, Arteta will get sacked, Lampard will get sacked. It just keeps, changing. The name keeps changing, but that's always there. But at one point early on in the season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job looked under threat. But now top of the league, do you think he's improved as a manager through this season? Or is it because other teams are just, City started off slow, Tottenham started off well, but now they're slow, Liverpool are out of form. So is it because of that? Or like, is it genuinely Man United doing well, or is it other teams not doing well, or is it a combination of both?
I think it's both. It's not that if at the beginning of the season, this was what I would have expected from United to have done this. If he needed to retain his job, I think he needed to have done this. Not about being top of the table, but about how United are performing. We had a very good midfield. We had a good offense. The front three were good. So we would have expected them to fire. Our defense was still leaky, but they performed. I think our defense has been a little bit better than what we would have expected. At least that's what's pushed us to the top of the table rather than just a top four. But it's also a combination of the other teams not doing well. But actually, I've been impressed with Solskjaer as a manager. I knew he was last season. He did show that he was good enough to be in the top four, and that's why he got the contract in the first place. But in the big games, I've actually been impressed with him, how he's approached it in the big games. I don't think, other than that Tottenham game, I don't think he's been outsmarted by anyone, not even Klopp or the others. And I think United have performed decently. I think he's like understood the weaknesses of our team and the strengths of our team. In the big games, at least they've performed well. Even Liverpool, I thought, okay, there was maybe a chance that before this game, I wasn't sure how we were going to go, whether he was going to go all in and try and attack Liverpool and try and take the win. Maybe a brave strategy, but I think he's shown more maturity to just wait, rather see through the game of how it goes and then maybe try and hit them on the counter. And that's not given into, he's shown maturity to not give into that thing of, okay, let me now, just go try for the win and not acknowledge how the game is going, still pay respect to how Liverpool can be. They can be equally dangerous on the counter. So he's been fairly good in the big games. He's shown the thing. Obviously nowhere near the level of the other top managers, but he's actually shown good traits to give him more time to see if he can take United up to the next level as well.
Jukes?
Yeah, true. I mean, at the beginning of the season, you wouldn't have said that, okay, United is a title contender or a title winning team. I mean, we all know that it's not there yet. I mean, it's still a work in progress. But I think everyone is getting behind the manager, the team environment, and everything like what we have seen over the past 7-8 years after Fergie, under Moyes, Van Gaal, and Mourinho. This United team is so much more like you enjoy watching the games again, and there is still so much. I mean, they're still improving, but yes, now we have a kind of a 11 that we know that, okay, this is the 11 that's going to start all the big games, all the major games. And even the players have responded well to how Solskjaer has been going about his job. So, yeah, but on the other hand, I feel that, yes, I mean, United being in the first position right now is more because the other contenders haven't been up to the mark. I mean, Arsenal, you can't even call the team a top 6 team anymore. I mean, they just haven't been there. And other than that, Tottenham in and out. Chelsea has been in some games, out in some games. When City is back in form, and soon by the end of this match week, City will probably be top of the table. But I'm happy the way United have been progressing under Ole. And maybe another season also, with a few add-ons, will be able to contend for the title.
Yeah, probably next season we will have to see. I think that will be the mark of whether he is our long-term manager in terms of whether he can take us to a title as such. Based on next season, if he can, even if we fall short this season a little, if we are at least involved in the race and we fall short, and how he builds on that next season, if he can take it to the next level. I think he's shown that he has improved United. Whether we need someone else to take us to the next season, next level, I think we'll know next season. We'll have to give him a chance. Because even Klopp took a few years to get to the title-winning season. So you have to give him a few years at least. But as of now, the path is at least improving. So right now, it's been good only, I think, under Ole.
But do you think, obviously giving him time is fine, but do you think that also depends on what United do in the transfer market? Because in the summer, because if he doesn't get the players he wants, or if he gets players he doesn't want, like this year he got Donny van de Beek, and Van de Beek's not even playing for United most of the games. So if that is the case, then how do you judge your manager at that point?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if the board is still 100% into it to give him the full supply and give him a full bank to go and get whoever he wants, like how they've done for Lampard at Chelsea. So it's a little hard. So again, for him, he can't. It's impossible for him to take it to the next level and compete with Liverpool and City if he's not got that. If he's not got that thing to buy that world-class midfielder, you're not. Unless he gets that thing, it's very hard to win the title. So at least in the last transfer season, other than Van de Beek, which wasn't even a big signing or something that we needed to be fixed as such, so it's not really a big step. But I think this transfer season, he's shown enough to say that they should support him to go and get those one or two big players, whoever he wants. I think he's shown enough for them to support that so that he can take us to the next level. If he gets his choice and then he doesn't show the results the next season, then maybe. But I think now he's shown enough that we should support him for those things, for that big buy at least now. Because without that, it's very hard for him to improve. As you said, it's impossible to compete with a City or with Liverpool considering how good they were last season. To improve to their level is going to be very hard if he's not backed in the transfer season.
I mean, you have seen the impact that Cavani has made in this team, and the way Solskjaer was going about, he wanted Haaland or he wanted Sancho. I mean, we all know that we needed one good striker in this team, and Cavani has made a big difference. Because honestly, Martial is not a proper number 9, and it makes a big difference to get a proper striker in this team. Plus a holding midfielder, maybe right now he's using Fred and McTominay, 2 people to do one person's job. So definitely he'll have to be backed up in the market, and I think the way board has gone about sticking with him so far, they should support him in the market also. Kind of hopeful, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. So obviously Satvik mentioned game management a couple of minutes ago, like the way Solskjaer approaches games and stuff. But like throughout this season, we've seen like varying approaches to games. We've seen one game he plays three at the back. The next game it's 4-2-3-1. Next game it's 4-3-3. So do you think that is costing Man United, or is it maybe costing Man United results in games where they could have won, or is it like you look at it as, okay, you need to adapt to your opposition? Which way do you look at it, Jubes?
No, I think the only game where I think it affected us negatively was the game against Leipzig that we lost in Champions League. Other than that, I mean, we haven't really lost that much, and the formation changes haven't really created a problem for United as such. That was one game, and I mean, like, such games do happen. But other than that, I don't think, like, tactically he has been outsmarted. Maybe consistency becomes a problem, but then again, when you see United have found consistency even while changing formations, changing personnel every other game, because I guess the squad also understands now in the background work that goes on in every game. I think it is working for United at this moment. In the long term, I don't know how is it going to play, but at this moment, it's working for United, so it's okay.
But long term, do you think like you need to settle on one system? Do you think you need to say, is it okay? Do you think for United to be successful, like from next season, let's say, do you think they need to stick to one system? Because let's take the example of Liverpool. You know the lineup that they're going to play. You know the formation. You can probably even predict the starting 11. With City, it's a little more difficult to predict the starting 11, but you know the formation that they're going to play. You know how they're going to play. So do you think it's time, maybe next year, that United settled on something that is the Manchester United way of playing, that defines Manchester United?
Yeah, he has. I mean, considering from the beginning of the season to now, I think he is moving towards that. At the beginning of the season, the problem was we weren't really sure of who was our back four. He's actually, though he's tinkered a lot with our midfield, he tries to stay constant with our defense, which I think is the most important part to retain through every game. I think that's the part which shouldn't be changed. So his right back's always been Wan-Bissaka, and he's decided that his favorite pairing in centre back is Maguire and Lindelof. Other than when Lindelof was injured, that's the only when Bailly played. But otherwise, he stuck to these two as the centre back pairing. Left back, again, Shaw keeps getting injured, and Telles has actually played well after coming in. So those two change a few times, but otherwise the three remain constant throughout. And even with the goalkeeper, he's shown the faith in De Gea, and I think that's a good thing only. He's only in the cup games, and FA Cup has this one, Dean Henderson played. So it's okay. I think the defense is one reason why you shouldn't keep tinkering a lot, and that he hasn't done. Our midfield, again, the problem was at the beginning of the season, we didn't know how Pogba was going to play. Or we didn't know how he was going to fit in with the others, who was exactly the players he'd need for Pogba to be unleashed. And actually, he's figured that out now a little bit. He's figured it out, okay, in the big games, which players he wants and things. As Joop said, it's not too thing to change the formation for a game or for a few games. That's even Fergie used to play that way. The standard was the 4-4-2, but always in big games, he used to change to a 5-man midfield. So even previously, Mourinho or less Klopp, but okay, even Mourinho and Guardiola keep changing. But yeah, sticking to the back four, and in the midfield if we keep changing, I think that's still okay. But now we're getting to know which is our best midfield. I think at the beginning of the season, I didn't know who was our best three. But right now, I think it's getting a little better. Pogba's improved his performances a little more. He's like now reliable. So we know we can play him. We know who he can play with. And Bruno Fernandes, obviously, given a lot of that, most of it is due to the stability given by him. So yeah, I think we're getting better. By next season, I think we will know, like, he will get more consistent and like have our best 11 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider that this season is different from the other seasons because there were too many matches crammed up. So rotation and a different strategy for every game was a necessity kind.
So the one thing I wanted to ask you, obviously, we all agree that Bruno Fernandes was United's best player. But aside from him, if he's number one, who's your number two? Who's been the most? Who's impressed you the most aside from Bruno? Either of you can take this first.
I think Luke Shaw has been amazing. Yeah, I think Luke Shaw has been amazing this season. I mean, having that competition with Telles has really he has really upped his game. Now you can see him crossing, running. I mean, and plus he has managed to keep himself fit for half of the season, playing most of the games. So I mean, that's a big plus. For me, it will be Luke Shaw.
For me, I think Fred was someone that I didn't expect to step up, but I think he's even Scott McTominay, but that he showed signs of earlier also. But I think Fred is now I think a reliable CDM. I think he's getting to the stage where a reliable box to box. I liked his tackles. He's pretty good in tackles. He can man mark the opposite team's main playmaker. So I think Fred's been improvement, and I think Fred's been the main reason why Van de Beek has not come into the main 11. Actually, Van de Beek, every time he's played, has been really good, I think. I think it's a little unfair on him that he's not gotten into the main 11. But I think the main reason for that is Fred coming up and being more reliable and really having no faults with Fred right now. So he's not allowed for Van de Beek to come in. But I've been happy with Fred. I think that's also been one of the reasons that's given the stability for Pogba to keep improving throughout the season. And less of us looking for Pogba on defense is because Fred's been pretty reliable and his tackling has been good.
Yeah, I think Fred. Yeah, I think the point about Fred sort of unlocking Pogba, if you will, is I think it's very like it's kind of like Kante and Pogba for France. Like as long as there's someone there to do the.
That's why he likes France. Yeah. That's why he can play so easily and well at France. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as there's someone to do the dirty work, I think Pogba, when he doesn't have that responsibility, I think he does much better. Now, on the other side, like, is there someone whom you expected more out of but hasn't performed as well, or not someone who hasn't got chances to perform, but like someone who has got chances but hasn't performed?
I think Greenwood, I am disappointed with. After last season, I thought he was definitely going to step up to the level of Rashford, or in the long run be even better than Rashford. I think last season already, 11 goals last season with just like small roles was really impressive. And I thought this season he would make that next level thing. Obviously that controversy in the beginning with England and everything would have derailed him a little bit. And then Cavani coming in would decrease his chances further. But I think it's been disappointing. I think he's moved down from where we saw him last season, which is a big disappointment considering like I thought he was going to be a very good striker and going to make himself and like challenge for the starting 11 this season, but it's nowhere been that level this season from him.
For me, that player would be Anthony Martial. I mean, because he's expected to lead that attack from the center and he hasn't done anything great as of now. I mean, till at this point in the season, you haven't really seen anything from Martial. He loses the ball too early, or he doesn't have that killer finish in him. So, I mean, he is someone like you can easily replace in this team. You don't really need a Martial in this team. He can be easily replaced. So, I think it's been Martial for me.
So, would you give Cavani a start instead of Martial? Like,
Definitely.
Would you consistently give Cavani a run of games?
Yeah, I mean, if Cavani can keep his fitness for all those games, I would say definitely Cavani over Martial any game.
Yeah, even I think so. I think he, as Jude said, he leads the line much better than Martial. I haven't been too happy with the way Martial has led the line and thing, but I think Cavani would lead the line better. Both of them aren't two great finishers, but yeah, I think Cavani would still make it a better front three. With Martial maybe playing on the side, but yeah, I think Cavani through the center has been better. Even when he's come on, I think he's been more dangerous than Martial up front.
Yeah, makes sense. So you guys mentioned obviously this season will be good if we can stay in the title race, even if we fall off later on, that's fine. So getting outside of the Premier League, looking at other trophies, obviously you've got the FA Cup, you've got the Europa League. Now I can tell you FA Cup, you guys are playing Liverpool next, and I can tell you Klopp doesn't give a shit about the FA Cup. So that's United basically going through to the next round. So do you think those are trophies that you should be looking to win? Because I mean, personally, my opinion is if United manage to win the Europa League, I think then Solskjaer has like everything he needs to go to the board and say, okay, these are the players I want. This is what I need. And next season, I'll be challenging for the title. But do you think those are realistic trophies, realistic aims for United, Europa League and FA Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I think all of those are stepping stones to like taking United to the next level. So I think those games, reaching the semis, playing well in those games, I think those are a big stepping stone for the squad and for Solskjaer to show that he can take it in those big games. Till now, he has shown it, but we have faltered a lot in the semis and all the cups. But yeah, taking us to the next level would be winning those games. Even for the squad to really show a significant change in that we have made the next step from last season would be to win those games, to deliver on that single stage thing. Most of the times when we have, throughout even last season and this season, when we have shown a good run of form, we have gotten a few wins. And then when it comes to an important game where maybe we can take the next step, we have faltered. I think every time when we were looking for our United really title contenders, or are United really that good that now we like they should be the favourites or considered the favourites for a cup or really title contenders, then they have faltered when it has come to that, even last season. So I think this season, if he wants to show that he has made that, if the squad and Solskjaer need to take that next level, I think they have to deliver on those, the most important moments. I think they have to deliver, which they haven't done till now as such.
I mean, a trophy changes a lot of things. Any trophy, a FA Cup or a Europa, will give the team that sense of winning, and that it will be like they'll have something substantial to show for their progression, that the progress that they have made. So I think it is important that we take this the FA Cup. But yeah, like we lost to City in the Carabao Cup, and now next game in FA Cup is against Liverpool. So I mean, it doesn't get any easier for United. But yeah, I mean, those are the games that matter at this moment.
And it's that winning culture. It's that winning culture that we are expected to win it. That losing it is not okay. That that we want to win every single game. Like losing to a City or a Liverpool is not considered okay. That's when we know that we have moved another level.
Definitely, yeah. I think a trophy, like Jupe said, a trophy does a lot in terms of like Jupe said, winning mentality, and like you said, losing to City, losing to Liverpool is not okay. And I think it'll be a big boost for like the younger players as well, because I think United has a lot more of them, like your Greenwoods and your like those players who haven't really been there during the Ferguson era. Even Rashford, for example, I think he was only there for a few years, maybe towards the end, and he mainly came into the United first team like after that. So I think it'll be a big boost for them as well. This season, what would a good season for United look like? Trophy, even if there's no trophy, let's say there's no trophy, but what would a good season look like for United? Where do you think you'll finish in the Premier League table? Is Champions League qualification the aim, or do you want to keep a title challenge all the way till the end, or maybe even win the title? Because right now United are top of the league, and they like say what you want about their style of football, say what you want about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not as experienced as Guardiola or Klopp, whatever, but they are still leading the pack, and there's no reason for me to say they can't be doing this at the end of May. So what would a successful season for United look like?
I think finishing in the top three, because I'm saying that we should be in the title race. And I'm saying that because I think we have not delivered at the pressure moments. So I think if we stick to these, if we now we are in the title race, from here on is really the title race. So I think if now the pressure is a lot more than what we were till now. So if now towards the end of the season, we are taking every game with high pressure and we are delivering in those games, I think that'll be a good sign. That'll be something that we can build on. So I think finishing in the top two, being in the title race till the end without having disappointed in the pressure moments, in the cups, delivering on at least getting to the finals, of having beaten good teams in pressure games. I think that's the main thing I want to see of that. And in terms of the squad, I think, again, establishing our main 11, getting definite with whose roles are what, I think that will be what we need to we'll be happy with to build in the next season.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Satvik that we should be there in the title race. From here on, it's the performance has to be there. This team should look like it is going for the title till the last game week, if possible, and plus getting at least the semi spots in FA Cup and Europa, and then from there, more than winning or losing, I mean, the team should play like they are meant to win that game. That it should show. I mean, like so far Sousa's strategy for all the big games has been you sit back, you get a chance, you counter. But I would like
Yeah.
United to be more expressive in these games and like say that okay, we are not just here doing like we are here to win. We are going to take the game up to you. I mean that sort of challenge, that sort of mentality. If we can see it in the team, I think I'll be happy at the end of the season.
Right. One
Shesha, I
final
had a
thing.
doubt on
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
So what
Ask.
has happened to Mane and Salah? Like what has happened?
Honestly, I think
it's not just that that okay, now we have figured them out or something. That's not for Salah or Mane. Who their thing was pace and they're real quality players. So it can't just be a thing of someone having figured them out or previous season people didn't know how to tackle with them. That's not really been the thing. So what's been this season's
so the one thing
disappointment? And they've been, neither of them had injuries or something. So they've been consistently playing together as well. So I don't know what's happened to them.
Yeah, no. So there's like so my thing is there's a few sort of layers to this. One, obviously, it's very difficult as our main source of goals are our two wingers. Now, if you look at any other team, like if you look at Tottenham, for example, their main source of goals is Harry Kane, who's a centre forward proper right there in the middle of the D. Man City had Aguero before. So for us, it is our wingers. Now, what happens is when we face teams like West Brom and Newcastle, for example, you've got like 8-9 people behind the ball. And 8-9 people who, when Salah's going into the D, he's confronted by at least like 3 defenders. So that's one aspect of it. The opposition sort of saying, okay, we know we can't beat you 1-on-1, so you're going to have to beat us 1-on-3. So that's one aspect, one way of looking at it, one part of it. The other part of it is fatigue. And I'm not saying this is because of the fixture list. I think we knew, like every team knew that this season was going to be different. Every team knew that this season fatigue was going to be an issue. The one thing I'll say is, and I have called Klopp a hypocrite for this, because throughout the season, until the last Champions League game, he kept saying, oh, you know what, the fixture list is mad, the fixture list is this, the fixture list is that, we can't rest players, we can't do this, we can't do... And then you get to the last Champions League game, we've sealed qualification, we're going to be first in the group, and yet you decide to play Salah... you decide to play Salah 100 minutes in that game. Like, that is the one game you had where you could have literally rested every single player and still, nothing would have happened. Nothing of consequence would have happened. So that's one. And again, staying with that game, that is the game that Jota got injured in. And out of all our backups to our front three, your Divock Origis, your Minaminos, your Diogo Jota was the only one who looked like he could replace any of the front three without any issue. And our quality wouldn't go down. You put Minamino there or you put Origi there, our quality goes down massively. Yeah. So Jota not being there means the front three don't get any rest whatsoever. Like, you can take a risk by playing someone else, but that's like you're not going to get a good result out of it. And again, there have been the occasional sort of really good performances. Like I think Newcastle's goalkeeper, Karl Darlow, he had a brilliant game against us.
Yeah.
So individual performances sometimes, but those tend to happen. And another thing is our defense. In terms of the injuries in our defense, what happened is because now we're playing Fabinho and whoever else, whether it's Henderson or Reece Williams, they're not as fast as Van Dijk and Gomez are. So we have to play a little deeper line. Trent and Robertson can't go as forward as they would normally would, or as much as they normally would, and they would. That's kind of affected our front play a little bit because it's kind of left Salah isolated. It's kind of left Mane isolated. There's not a lot of 1-2s going on between Robertson and Salah, for example. Robertson and Mane, for example. So there's a lot of factors, but I think some of it is self-inflicted, like the Midtjylland game playing. Some of it is because of other teams, but some of it is just it's just fatigue. Can't do much about it. Happens, I guess. Honestly, this season, I think, and squad depth was always an issue. Like the fact that we didn't have a good enough replacement for the front three, and Firmino has been out of form for the last 1.5 years. Like this season's been especially terrible, but last season itself we were saying that he needs to pick it up because he's been out of form. Like fine, before at least he used to do his link up plays and, he used to bring others into the game. But now even that has gone down. And when that goes down and you're not scoring goals, that's a big problem if you're playing as a centre forward. So, yeah, and we don't have a good replacement for him. The person we bring on is Minamino. Minamino is a central attacking midfielder when he was at Salzburg. And yeah, it's just there's a lot of issues with. I have a lot of issues with the way Klopp sometimes operates and Klopp sometimes plays. And like yesterday, we saw Shaqiri and Thiago play in midfield, and I thought our midfield was really good yesterday. But for a long time, Klopp would never use Shaqiri. Even if he was on the bench, he would not get.
Yeah.
Or if he was fit, he would never start. Like it just made no sense. When you need creativity, why are you not playing one of your most creative players? Like it just made no sense. So there's a lot of things that go into why our front three is not doing well. And I think there's also this element of selfishness that has creeped in a little bit with both Salah and Mane. I don't know if it's... Yeah, and I think Salah was especially disappointed that he wasn't the captain against Midtjylland. That was a whole controversy. That Trent got the captaincy ahead of him. He gave an interview. And I'm pretty sure, Salah will leave in the summer. So
really,
yeah, I think he will.
Really?
I think if Madrid or Barcelona come calling, then I think he will definitely go. Especially Barcelona, because if Messi is going to leave Barcelona, they're freeing up a lot of money with that. So I think, yeah, if Salah or Mane, I think one of them at least is definitely going to go. I think more likely it's going to be Salah. Anyway, Jubes, you were about to say something. I think I interrupted you.
But yeah, I think Firmino is the one who is going to leave Liverpool for sure.
I don't know, man, because see, the thing is, I wouldn't mind him leaving in this form because he's terrible right now. But I think Klopp just likes him too much. So I think Salah is the one who will definitely get an offer from Madrid if he's getting. So, yeah.
And also I feel that once Van Dijk comes back or Joe Gomez comes back, and Henderson is back in the midfield, Liverpool will start doing much better as it is. We saw with City that once Stones came back and City could go back to its old tactics, they are performing every game like you expect them to play. So I think even that is a big factor.
Yeah, definitely. I think Van Dijk, I don't think he's coming back this season. But
even Joe Gomez is not coming back this season. Matip maybe next game.
Yeah. I mean, Joel Matip is made out of glass, so that is one more person we need to get rid of. Him and Keita. Keita has probably spent more time in hospital than on a training pitch. So
this title race actually much more open than I expected this season. Obviously, COVID plays a role, and we always knew that if some squad gets a lot of players with COVID, that could create some issues, and injuries would be a problem, fatigue would be a problem. But I think no team has really shown the consistency or the thing to be really worth the title, or to say that, they should be the favourites. Everyone expected it of Liverpool, but obviously the injuries in to the defence was what derailed their initial part. But no one expected that their front three would not be firing. So that's what's brought Liverpool back down, and that's what's given everyone a chance. And then Tottenham looked like they could, Mourinho's stability, his second season would be the normal how Mourinho's teams in their second season do and everything. But they have also faltered after that. Initially, Chelsea looked like their signings all had, everyone was firing, but now it's really not really that working. So it's quite an open season. And actually, so if United or a Chelsea or someone can just sneak in a victory, if Liverpool still don't figure out their things, there will be a big win for Lampard or Solskjaer to win a title. Whether 3 years down the line, we're not going to mention that, it was the COVID season or these things. None of the teams had established themselves. A title is a title. So that would be a big win. But yeah, it's an open thing as to if any team actually shows a lot of consistency now, I think they've got a really good chance of winning it.
I think right now City is probably the most consistent team. Because I think they've won a lot of games and they've gone 10 games without conceding. I was telling Jubes before the recording, and they've gone 10 games and they've conceded only one goal, which was that one goal that Hudson-Odoi scored, I think. against when they played Chelsea. So yeah, I think right now City is on paper the most consistent team, but again, you never know. One injury can change everything, or a bad run of 3 or 4 games can change everything. So you never know. But this season, I mean, that brings us nicely to a close. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I did recording it. Thank you guys for all the support. We've crossed 50 episodes now, and the number of listeners has literally grown from 31 on the first episode to 2,500 on the last one. So thank you for that as well. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcasts from. Until next time though, my name is Seshadri. Enjoy the rest of your day and goodbye.